if there is an appetite for user-generated content here in this region? Have you seen platforms using, again, like the girl next door to help with the content promotions, help with creating content for their brands? And do you think retailers here are actually capitalizing on it well enough?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, UGC is quite large and big here, but UGC can be very tricky as well. So it's quite a sensitive area. We've seen the influence it has on brands, from awareness to amplification, but also the damage it could do when you just have the wrong thing or wrong comments or wrong influencer involved. So in general, I personally don't like the name influencer, so I just clarified now because it just sounds wrong. It's like someone influencing a million people to buy something. Doesn't sound right. I think we like to call them creators. I think these type of people who have such a high impact on decision making are because they have passion and they're very good with creating content. So they know the platform, they know how to create for the platform. And our community, everybody's are creators, from users to friends to content providers to publishers, all the way to our creator community. So we actually started being a little bit more forward thinking with this type of behavior. We just over the past couple of months, if you heard the news from Snapchat, we created a section on our app called Spotlight. So Spotlight empowers the members of our community to inspire each other with their creativity and surface most of the entertaining snaps while making sure it's consistent with their values, with our values. So these entertaining content basically come in all sort of formats. It combines our camera, creativity, and friends together, and it's basically the best of Snapchat. So that is an environment we're definitely looking at UGC and understanding how that basically can help and support our brands. We also created something called Creators Hub, where you basically can go and connect with our verified creators and work with them to build the right content for the community and for the platform. So we understand the impact of a good piece of creative and what it can do for brands to drive their best objectives. And we understand that there is definitely a lack of that. Like, brands really struggle with getting the right content out there. And yeah, we look forward to basically move on with this further. So stay tuned for more updates on that.
Amazing. Yeah, very excited to know what more is coming from that space, because influencers, or like you call them, creators, are all the hype here in the region. I think there's also an element of how we don't really have the mainstream, Hollywood sort of celebrities here. So influencers take that position. There's an aspirational element there as well. Stan, coming to you now. So that's obviously the creator, content creator, influencer side of things. But how is it that you can turn your loyal customers into your ambassadors? Is that something that you have ventured into or thought of or looked into as Unas?
Good question. It's something definitely we've looked into. We are not at the stage of let's say complexity I'm expecting, but it's definitely on the roadmap as we move forward, hopefully by end of this year. But how to best transform your loyal customers into brand ambassadors? Again, it comes back to engagement, but then, because anyway, it's the topic of today's discussion, but I would say, when do you become loyal, right? When everything was right, and then I would even be a bit, let's say, disruptive, but I'd say it's brand love, right? So we want people to love our brands and to have a great experience. So if they love your brand, then if we want to turn them in, so first of all, they will become by default ambassadors, again, because of the social media, let's say, element. But then on top of that, what we are doing at the moment and developing, it's really like, first of all, you need to reward them, give them as much as possible. So that's super important, based on like different actions and engagement they've done on your side. You need to give them that extra push to like just tell them, we do appreciate everything like you have done with us so far. So if you can do more, so that's it. We tend to reward and gift our top customers and VIPs like as much as possible. B, you need to introduce some kind of personalization as well on these rewards and gifts. So you need to be able to know what are their favorite colors, when is their birthday, if they've got, for example, a new kid. So we tend to try to collect more and more all of these data points, again, to create really this kind of personal, almost one-on-one experience, as if we were part of the family. So, and then once you've basically delighted them, and you also hear, again, from the Net Promoter Score and always on feedback loop that we have, hear their insights and what they have to say about the brand, then if you actually, based on these insights, optimize your journey and implement what they actually are expecting from you, then they will become brand ambassadors again. So by default, like if you keep on like showing this kind of attention and personalization to your customer, they will become brand ambassadors. Also, we are trying to go even to the extra mile. It's also our like loyal customers, brand ambassadors, but also they become part of what we call a referral program, which is like obviously a known tool, but this is the way like most of, let's say, the biggest US unicorns like Uber or Netflix started. It's with referral. The experience was so great, then people were sharing their experience and the brand was rewarding them with like extra gifts or extra credits. And then like it created that snowball effect. So I think that's the key, basically, if you want to turn your loyal customers into brand ambassadors.
Sure. I mean, Stan, just coming back to you again, is there like a demand for custom content though? So we've seen, and I'm going a little bit into targeted advertising as well, in terms of how it's done, because you've spoken a lot about data and the likes of it. And today there's just a lot of generic advertisement out there. Like even if I'm having a conversation, we know how all the apps are, I don't know, listening to us or whatever. But with regards to like the targeted advertising, I don't have kids, but I get sent sometimes on occasion when I'm just having a conversation on the side on WhatsApp about somebody who has kids. I still get sent things about school bags and little uniforms and diaper adverts. So that is just wasted advertising and marketing money, isn't it? There must be a way to probably target that and make it more streamlined, isn't there? So we're talking about custom content with personalization, because over here again, the channel is know, engage, and personalize, right? Know your customer, engage with them, and get the intel to personalize your offerings. How do you best do that?
The thing is, like, what let's say channels such as Snapchat or like other social media platforms have created for us, and which is now, I would say, up to 60% of our investment, it's into more targeted ads with a format that they call dynamic ads. So the dynamic ads, which is valid on Snap, it's where like 60% of our investment goes for us. Because the beauty of dynamic, it's based on your previous behavior, and there is some kind of like machine learning model. It's trying to predict what you will buy next as well. So we inject all of these data points in what we call product feeds. And then with the pixels, or these, I'm going a bit technical, right? But it's all of this, let's say, data points that you can capture on site and in app that we then share back into Snapchat. And then Snapchat will ensure Snap users will see only content and ads that are relevant to them based on the actions and behavior they've done in the past on your app. And they will also try to predict your next purchase. So in that case, we're becoming more and more targeted on the paper, because it's all based on your personal behavior and your personal, let's say, investment and choices that you're doing like on a daily basis.
Great.
Sorry, on Stan's point as well. I think actually Unas, what they do really best as well. Actually, both of my examples go to Landmark and Unas, and this is not being biased, it just comes on top of my mind. But Unas, what they do, they have that really good always on AR strategy. So Stan and his team always look at creating scenarios and situations where our users by intent themselves proactively pick up the AR asset and interact with it. So that by itself is a personalized experience. It is relevant to them. They decide what to do and what to say and what content or context add to the situation or that environment. So that's one personal things that they've done really well over the past couple of years, and the impact has been amazing. In some cases, we've seen like 8 ROI and even above for these investments. Another one is the Landmark.
8.5.
8.5, and I think we had a 12 as well, which is crazy. And on the landmark example, another thing that they've done, they use the technology. There was actually a situation where we worked with Forward, PMX, and Stitcher ads. So these are obviously tech partners that can serve the right ad at the right time and work on tracking not only the online interaction, the pixel base that Stan just explained, but also offline. So what the customers are going, what are they purchasing? And then we will retarget these consumers with the right data, but also understand how they're converting offline as well. There was one example, we worked with Centerpoint actually, and we tracked this. And this 3 ways partnership gave us amazing data because we realized what that full journey looks like. And when we looked at actually the dynamic ad in a combination with Stitcher ad, that the technology merging together and being super relevant to the consumer, and how when those products were served to the consumers, they saw the highest ever ROI, when they compared to the previous platforms and experiences on Snapchat. In fact, we increased by 36% in terms of in-store ROAS and 270% higher in-store AOV. So if you think about scenarios where you can use the data, be relevant, and you see complete direct conversion, and you're tracking both online interaction and offline interaction. I just wanted to highlight these examples because I thought it was a very smart use of technology when it comes to personalization.
I'm so glad you did, Farima. Definitely very, very insightful. And the fact that you're giving us examples of what these retailers here have done just makes it so much more valuable to the discussion that we're having today. So thank you for that, Farima. Just again, going back to our overarching discussion in this particular point of the session, Bala, coming to you just about, and I'm sure you have something to add here as well with regards to how you're using your ambassadors, right? Because Landmark is known to have all of those, the big name celebrities endorsing your products. And then we've also seen you using the macro influencers with the millions of followers, etc. So in that context, what would you say? How has your evolution been? Is using people or your loyal customers as ambassadors, is that something that you have considered at all? Or do you think the best way to find engagement for your kind of brands would be to get those big names who millions of people follow?
Shruti, this is a very interesting question because we, in Max, in fact, we started UGC journey about 3.5 years ago, right? So we actually partnered with a company called Olapik, who's the leader in UGC content creation and content curation, and we ran the journey for about a year, and so with Olapik to really get user content. This is not influencers. This is my customers who shop with me in store or online. Take a picture of it. The kids wearing a Max clothing, post it online, and that get featured in our website as well. So we had product rails coming in with their images. Along with that, if the customer likes it, she can click on it and it could actually buy the same product online. So that was a very interesting experiment we did 3 years ago. The ROIs were not the optimum which we would have expected it to deliver, right? So, and hence we paused it for the time being. But now it's a time for us to really reconsider some of those content through our customers as brand ambassadors. And as again, Farima did mention, I don't use the word influencers too much. It is content creators, and content creators we engage with them across multiple layers, big names included. But where I think our journey will take us is to really cater to household names. Everybody should be able to create, post content, and enjoy our product and services. So that should be the next evolution for us in terms of user-generated content.
Great, amazing. Actually, I think I need to bring in one of the questions that our attendee has asked because it's relevant to where we are in the conversation right now. And it's also very, very time relevant. I'm not sure if you watched this video of Ronaldo that's been trending where he was doing a press conference, UEFA press conference, and there was a bottle of Coke that was placed on his desk. And then he moves the 2 bottles. Obviously, it was product placement as an ad that they probably have a partnership with. He moved the bottle of Coke and he put a bottle of water saying, drink water. And in the process, Coke actually lost about $4 billion is what I read. Just that one little action. So obviously he's an ambassador, or he's a big name celebrity, and he's just done a negative sort of promotion of a brand. So Mahadevan, one of our attendees, he's just brought this point up. How important is celebrity endorsement vis-a-vis regular consumers? Today, Coke as a brand is trending negatively because of one action from a celebrity. So does anybody want to contribute to this? I'll open the floor.
Yeah, can I take that, Shruti?
Sure.
Yeah, yes, celebrities are important as well for a brand. If your brand is associated with a celebrity, for example, then it is important. But where we are moving in the journey, and depending on who your target consumer segment is, your strategies would change. So if you're looking at young generation today, the youngsters are more towards curated content, more towards user-generated content, and more towards authenticity of the content rather than celebrity endorsements in that sense. So it is not one size fits all for all brands, but really depending on the segment of customers we are talking, the strategy would then define itself.
Amazing. Thank you for answering that. Just moving to the concluding part of our conversation now, we have another 10-15 minutes left. So I think let's talk about rethinking aesthetics and integrating technology, both online, in-store, and using different platforms and solution providers here, right? There was something that Steve Jobs had put out, I'm sure you've heard it as well, about design, where he said that design is not how something looks and feels, it is about how it works. And this is something that we tend to forget a lot in business, in the way things function, etc. And that's why when you go to an Apple store, obviously, when you look at it, you do realize, even without looking at the board, it's an Apple store. But it's about the engagement that happens within the store, where you can touch and feel the product, interact with the product. There are the Apple geniuses who come and have a one-on-one discussion with you. You can book appointments, etc. So it's more about the functionality of it than just the look and feel, which is why I think it's important to bring that up in this conversation as well. So let me start with how to use design thinking to drive customer experiences. So we'll cover the e-commerce as well as the brick and mortar aspect of it. Stan, can I start with you here?
So I may sound like a broken record, but again, the whole starting point for us is the data. So it starts with the data and the insights we actually gather from all of these data points. And we say, oh, okay, actually, we think it can be improved. But then what we do with that data is we come with a new redesign of the app, let's say. Okay, fine. But what we tend to do, obviously, it's never roll out to the entire population, because out of one insights, which might be skewed because it was only observed on a specific part of the population, we do design. First, we design it internally, then we roll it out only for our employees. We see if it's basically fulfilling the needs, and if the new design is actually proving to be more efficient and actually delivering a better experience and better engagement for the users. So we do have some kind of internal focus group to see if that works. If that basically goes into validation, then we, let's say beta, then we release it, but not to the entire, let's say, UNAS consumer database. We release it to only, let's say, a sub part of the population, 10%, 20, 30%. And then we basically roll out what we call an A/B test. And we do see basically based on the new design, if the specific metric or KPI we were trying to improve. And it's, again, it's not necessarily revenues or orders. It can be, again, the time spent, or let's say time it takes for them to move between two pages. It can be software metrics, which are not like transactional only, you know what I mean? And again, because we're thinking consumer engagement and brand love, so it can be also about the fact that is the like post-order experience, let's say, end of the process journey, like faster than before. So then we have a test. If the result is positive, we roll out the design to everywhere. If it's not positive, it's negative, like the design is killed. Pure and simple, actually. So again, let your data and your consumer tell us if your design and your ID was actually what they were expecting.
Same question for you, Bala. So how does it work for in brick and mortar? How to use design thinking to drive customer experience and engagement?
See, there's someone who asked a question about Amazon and the customer experience, the customer loyalty which Amazon builds. And you talked about, Apple in a design thinking forward where they really built on it to deliver the products and services. So if I need to step back, prior to digital age, it was mass market, mass production, mass advertising, right? And what the Amazon and Bezos have done is that take that mass product into billions of customers and deliver a personalized experience. Would you call this design thinking? It just simplified the whole process of thinking, and that's why Amazon has so many loyal customers. It is not one size fits all, and that experience encompasses across the value chain, from the time you experience it to the time your delivery till the time your return comes back. And for us to bring that kind of a journey, it takes, as Stan mentioned, it's all in the algorithm. It's all in machine learning. It's all in data, which we need to harness. And the challenge, and it's still not fully solved for the world, is to bring that to offline world. How do I bring that kind of data intelligence and footprint into offline to give an experience which is what you expect in an online world? So it is still not solved for, and something I'm look forward to solve it in some point in the future.
Great. Hope you solve it. And I'm sure providers like Snapchat, etc., will help you in the process of solving it and engaging better. Farima, let me come to you now. Of course, AR, VR has been massive for you. And it's this amalgamation we're talking about, right? The e-commerce and the brick and mortar amalgamation. And then there's this one platform that's capitalizing heavily and betting so hard in AR more than anything else. Why are you so optimistic about AR and its future in social commerce? And if you can help us understand that with examples, that would be amazing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, at Snapchat, I think it goes back to the foundation of our values and why we were initially created. So Snapchat, we've always been focused on building products that are natural, personalized, and human, right? So when you look at communication, the first thing that was missing in the world of communication was a visual communication between friends, which is the most powerful form of communication. And our founders' vision from the get-go was that a picture worth 1,000 words. So let's look at the camera as the first piece of hardware that sits in the center of our app and opens the window to creating powerful communication tactics and also enables the world to experience the world in a different way, which then we introduced the world to AR. So it's amazing that if you look at today's story about AR, Snapchat really was a pioneer of this, right? We started it, we made this part of consumer habits and lifestyle and day-to-day interactions, and then slowly brands adopted it and started using it. We partnered with Deloitte and Publicis Media actually to come up with the research to just understand this trend and what's happening. And it's crazy that above 90% of our users actually said they fully want AR experiences from retailers moving forward, and they demand that. And our marketers still kind of, a lot of them looking at it as a toy, as something to experience, rather than just like when mobile became big, web URL became big, search became big, and they adopted all of those earlier or later, they need to look at AR now as an integral part of their activation. So AR is obviously, there's that immersive experience, and then there's this utility, right? So it's a positive sentiment, but at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to actually try a product on. Our technology now lets you put a watch on your arm, change your jackets and clothes, the color, scan someone's clothes and find clothing and fashion that looks like that, put furniture in your house. The layers of technology and the way that it's evolving, it's crazy. So if you think about the amount of things you can do in this environment and the potentials, it's super exciting. And it's not, again, just experiences. We're looking at 94% higher conversion when it comes to launching AR as part of your campaign, 94% higher conversion. And as I mentioned before, with UNAS, for example, our experience is insane. The ROI we get from AR is really impressive. So this is why for us, for the next generation and current generation, we are heavily investing in AR We fully believe this is the future of one of the most important integral immersive marketing technologies. And I just want to, if I have a minute, want to explain to you the Adidas example that that kind of brings that all together, and you can envision how it all works. But we recently, Adidas launched a Halo store very recently in Dubai Mall, and this store was obviously really forward thinking to the new generation, savvy generation. It had 3 areas that they wanted to highlight and experiences in the store. One was sustainability. 90% of their products is now sustainable, which is really impressive. Again, bringing meaningful, valuable things to the consumer. A maker's lab, where you can bring your Adidas gear and customize it according to however you like it to look like and personalize it. And a sneaker service lab, where you can actually bring it there and bring your old sneakers and clean it all up. What is so important, they noticed that we are post-pandemic, so not everybody is able to go and visit the store, right? So that inclusive mindset of saying everybody should have the right to be able to experience this new experience, right? They worked with us and said, this is our challenge. We want to be exclusive, and we want to talk about these 3 values that we're bringing to the consumer. So we brought all of these into AR environments. We ran obviously commercial Snap ad, and the celebrities invited people to store. But if you can't come to store, don't worry. Go to this augmented reality experience. You enter to the virtual store. You can see 3 sections of the store. Bring your own stickers from your room and put it on the store and just see how it looks like when it cleans up. Scan your clothing that we would tell you about the sustainability of it. And also at the same time, you can put your Adidas gear on the AR and customize it. And maybe when you visit the store later, go for it and actually do it. So this inclusiveness and this immersive experience was available both virtually and in store. And this is a true meaning of blending the 2 worlds that we're trying to do with AR. Long story, but I don't have too much passion about AR. So.
That's great. No, and I'm glad you mentioned the Adidas example as well, right? Because it's happening here in this region in Dubai Mall, and it's already, and it's also about how they are catering to customers irrespective of where they are. They are reaching them where the customers want them to reach them. So that's brilliant. And I'm so glad you gave this example.